Thanks for checking out this video. So let's talk about everything coming to Shudder for March 2022, and I need to apologize off the bat. My energy might be a little bit lower than usual, going through a little bit of a sickness phase. I think I have an ear infection slash sinus infection, so that's been fun. But anyway, it's not about that. It's about what's coming to Shudder. So first I'm going to go over their original and exclusives. There are going to be 4 of them this time around. For all of those, I do no spoiler movie reviews the week that they're coming out. They're usually coming out on a Thursday. All of them this month, March, are coming out on Thursdays, so I will have a no spoiler review out every Monday of that week for the movie that's going to be coming out that Thursday. So you can come to my channel for that. Anyway, the first one coming out March 3rd is called The Scary of 61st. These are all available everywhere Shudder is. 2 roommates' lives are upended after finding out that their new Manhattan apartment harbors a dark secret. Okay, pretty vague, but interesting enough. The next one is The Seed, premiering March 10th. This horror comedy centers on Deidre, Heather, and Charlotte, lifelong friends finally getting some time away together, using an upcoming meteor shower to gather more followers for their social media channels. But what starts out as a girl's getaway in the Mojave Desert descends into a battle for survival with the arrival of an alien force whose air of mystery soon proves to be alluring and irresistible to them. I mean, horror comedy, I'm in. I always like horror comedies, but that's also hard to pull off properly. So we'll see. Then coming March 17th, we have The Bunker Game. An actress in a live-action role-playing game where the participants play the survivors of an atomic war sealed in an underground bunker finds herself trapped inside with other staff. As they begin to die in mysterious ways, the group realizes that someone, or something paranormal, is playing a twisted game with them, which quickly plunges into a terrifying fight for survival. That sounds interesting. I'm down. Then coming March 24th, The Spine of Night. In The Spine of Night, an ultra-violent animated fantasy epic, interesting, ancient dark magic falls into sinister hands and unleashes ages of suffering onto mankind. A group of heroes from different eras and cultures must band together in order to defeat it at all costs. Lucy Lawless is in it, by the way, and Patton Oswalt. So I'm interested with that. And then the last one of their originals and exclusives, coming March 31st, Night's End. In Night's End, an anxious shut-in unwittingly moves into a haunted apartment and hires a mysterious stranger to perform an exorcism which takes a horrific turn. Not my subgenre of horror, but obviously I'm going to give it a try and I'll be as impartial as possible. So for the month of March, they always focus on something. It's French horror. So they are adding a bunch of new French horror, and then they already have some French horror on there, so they put it all into one collection where you can find it all. So there are some good ones coming, and I'll point those out when I talk about them here. All the movies coming, all the movies I'm going to list here are it's a bunch of them, for coming March 1st. And the first one is available for the US and Canada. It is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I've seen this film. I wasn't a fan of it, but maybe I should revisit it. 65 years after a mass serial killer terrorized the small town of Texarkana, the so-called Moonlight Murders begin again. Is it a copycat or even more sinister? A lonely high school girl may be the key to catching him. I wasn't a fan of it. It seemed like too long and drawn out, and just the pacing wasn't great. And the other ones that I'm going to list for March 1st are just listed for the US, for Shudder US. Inside. 4 months after the death of her husband, a woman on the brink of motherhood is tormented in her home by a strange woman who wants her unborn baby. Now, that's a French... that was during the time of French extremity horror, and that was one that I didn't happen to see. Actually, a lot of them I did see and I actually own, and they're going to be coming to Shudder, so keep your eyes out. This next one, I'm very excited to see. This one, I think they said something about it like being previously unreleased in the United States, so pretty excited to see this one. Another French horror film, Livid. The suggestion of a big treasure hidden somewhere inside Mrs. Jessel's once renowned classical dance academy will become an irresistible lure to a fiendish trap for Lucy and her friends. I will be watching that one for sure. The next one I own, it is good, Frontiers. A gang of young thieves flee Paris during the violent aftermath of a political election, only to hole up in an inn run by neo-Nazis. It's a fun time. The next one I also own, and is a very good film, but I own it. I've only watched it once, and I may only watch it once, although maybe I should watch it again just to review it. That is Martyrs. A young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child leads her and a friend who is also a victim of child abuse on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. It is rough. And speaking of rough, the next one is a film that I have not seen but keep meaning to see, and everyone tells me it is rough. Irreversible. Events over the course of one traumatic night in Paris unfold in reverse chronological order as the beautiful Alex is brutally raped and beaten by a stranger in the underpass. I've heard it's hard, so I'll check it out, though. The next one, also one I own that I think is really good, High Tension. Best friends Mary and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse. But on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror. There's some really good gore in that. Check it. The next is a series of 3 films. I'll only read the synopsis for the first one because that's all that matters. Darkman. I haven't seen any Darkman films. I've seen like snippets of the first one, but I want to see these, so I'm going to try to watch and review these. So Darkman 1, Darkman 2, The Return of the Durant, and Darkman 3, Die, Darkman, Die. A brilliant scientist left for dead returns to exact revenge on the people who burned him alive. I know Liam Neeson's in it. And then, I'm not going to read the synopses for 2 and 3, but 2 and 3. Death Drop Gorgeous. This one is not just for the United States, but it's US, Canada, UK, and Austria, New Zealand. A dejected bartender and an aging drag queen try to survive the eccentric and hostile nightlife of a corrupt city as a mass maniac slaughters young gay men and drains them of blood. Sounds like an interesting film. I'd like to check that out. The next one is US and Canada. Trouble Every Day. American newlyweds Shane and June Brown honeymoon to Paris. Once there, Shane secretly begins a search for his former colleague Leo, who might be in possession of a cure to a tropical virus that has transformed both Shane and Leo's wife Cor into ravenous sexual cannibals. That's a very interesting one. And the last 2 here for the first are US only. Bastards. Marco returns to Paris after his brother-in-law's suicide, where he targets the man his sister believes caused the tragedy, though he is ill prepared for her secrets as they quickly muddy the waters. I don't know. Evolution. The only residents of young Nicholas's seaside town are women and boys. When he sees a corpse in the ocean one day, he begins to question his existence and surroundings. Why must he and all the other boys be hospitalized? Question mark. So that one gets me because seaside town. I have this thing, like, I'm just fascinated with horror films that take place in seaside towns, so I'm going to do it probably. All right, the next 4 are coming March 7th. This one's for US and Canada. The Nightmare. After attending a rave party, a teenage girl forms a bond with a strange monster as she suffers a slow, chaotic mental breakdown. Sounds interesting. The next one is just the US. Memory, The Origins of Alien. This is a documentary. An in-depth voyage into the sci-fi film Alien with the visionary filmmakers who created it. See how one of the most terrifying movies of all time came to life 40 years ago, inspired by ancient mythology and our universal fears. Definitely want to watch that. I'm a huge fan of documentaries in general, even more so horror documentaries, so definitely want to watch that. The next one is Darling, not to be confused with Darlin, which is also on Shudder. Darling, for US and Canada. A lonely girl's violent descent into madness. That's the whole synopsis. Okay. And then the last one for the 7th is Corporate Animals. This is just for the US. A delusional CEO, played by Demi Moore, takes her staff of misfits on a disastrous team-building retreat led by an overeager guide, played by Ed Helms. When catastrophe strikes and the food runs out, mandatory office bonding becomes a lot more appetizing. Maybe. The next 5 movies are being put up on March 14th. All of them, except one, are just US. So I'll point out the one that's not. Triangle. I've seen this one. It's a good low-budget film. Check it out. Yacht passengers encounter mysterious weather conditions that force them to jump onto another ship, only to have the odd havoc increases. I don't think that's what they meant to write there. Anyway, moving on. Dario Argento's Trauma. Now, this is one that they were supposed to have added over a year ago, so it's good to see that they're finally going to put it up. A young man tries to help a teenage European girl who escaped from a clinic after witnessing the murder of her parents by a serial killer, and they try to find the killer before the killer finds them. I definitely will be watching that, because I'm trying to watch a lot of Italian horror. Home with a View of a Monster. That's an interesting title. US and Canada for this one. Dennis and Rita arrive home to a series of mysterious events. Vague. Okay. Kind of interesting sounding. I don't know. The next one, Hounds of Love. Vicky Maloney is randomly abducted from a suburban street by a disturbed couple. As she observes the dynamic between her captors, she quickly realizes she must drive a wedge between them if she is to survive. This next one, this is the last one for the 14th. Yeah, for the 14th. Highly recommend this one. I have a no spoiler review for it on my channel, so you can check that out. It's Tragedy Girls. Really fun. A twist on the slasher genre, following 2 death-obsessed teenage girls who use their online show about real-life tragedies to send their small Midwestern town into a frenzy and cement their legacy as modern horror legends. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. March 21st. The next 3 films are coming March 21st. First one's US and Canada. Siege. A gay bar is hit by a group of sociopaths, and all the patrons are killed except for one man who escapes and takes refuge in an apartment occupied by a group of friends who will do anything they can to protect him and survive the siege. Interesting. Might check it out. The next one is US and Canada. Birth of the Living Dead. A documentary that shows how George A. Romero gathered an unlikely team of Pittsburghers to shoot his seminal film, Night of the Living Dead, from 1968. Once again, love documentaries, specifically horror documentaries. Want to watch it. And the last one coming for the 21st, Await Further Instructions. This one's for US, Canada, UK, and Australia and New Zealand. A family's Christmas takes a strange turn when they awake to find themselves trapped inside and begin receiving mysterious instructions through the television. Okay, interesting. The next one, March 25th, there's only one film. It's for US only. Extraordinary. Rose, a mostly sweet and lonely Irish diving instructor, must use her supernatural talents to save the daughter of Martin, also mostly sweet and lonely, from a washed-up rock star who is using her in a satanic pact to reignite his fame. No thanks. If I want something like that, I'd just watch Jennifer's Body, maybe. The next 3 are coming March 28th. First one's for US and Canada. Blood Conscious. A vacationing family turns the tables on a mass shooter who claims to be fighting demonic forces. So QAnon, basically. Sounds interesting. The next one is for US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Minor Premise. Attempting to surpass his father's legacy, a reclusive neuroscientist becomes entangled in his own experiment, pitting 10 fragments of his consciousness against each other. That sounds very interesting. Very interested in that one. And this last one, I'm definitely interested in this one. This one is for US and Canada. And last one for March 28th. Eaten Alive. Available US, Canada. A psychotic redneck who owns a dilapidated hotel in rural East Texas kills various people who upset him or his business, and he feeds their bodies to a large crocodile that he keeps as a pet in the swamp beside his hotel. Yeah. Been wanting to see this one. And the last one on here, March 29th, is Season 4 of Etheria. That is for the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. 8 new stories by women directors about time warps, emotional control apps, crime lords, and more. Yeah, that is the focus on female writer-directors with short films. So there's 4 seasons of that on there now. I keep meaning to get to it, maybe one day. But anyway, let me know what you're excited about. Also, let me know what your recommendations are from that list down in the comments. What are must-sees? What are ones I can definitely skip? Help me out here, you guys, because you know I always say, I want to watch this, I want to watch this, but I just don't get to it. So help me out with that. Yeah, and also just what are you excited about? Also, do me a quick favor, hit subscribe if you haven't already. That literally is the best way to repay me if you like this video or any video I've ever done. It is quick. It is painless. It costs you $0, and it keeps me motivated to keep doing videos like this, because when I'm doing this right now, I'm not making money or anything. For this specific video, I'm just putting information out there for people as a heads up, and hopefully people, watch this and get excited about what's coming the next month. So anyway, thank you very much for taking your time to watch this video. I appreciate that. And until next time, keep it brutal.